Yeah, welcome once again, everybody. Commentator's Curse, and a subject that has been in the game for some time, but has come to the forefront in recent years, and more people are paying attention or paying heed to it. And this is with regard to depression, mental health. Glenn Maxwell taking a break from the game because of it, to take care of it, to kind of look at himself, as it were, and try and look after himself. Simon, why don't you start us off with this? It's an important subject, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's a really important subject, guys. I think, first and foremost, it's about the mental health of the person. And what you said, Pommy, right at the top, it's just a game. And sometimes we forget that. Fans very, very quickly forget that it is just a game. We're all human. We've all made mistakes in life, in cricket, in commentary. No matter what we do, we've made mistakes. And sometimes when you're at the top of your game, you pay more dearly for those mistakes, and they impact on players. And we've seen that with Trescothick and Trott and a couple of names that I can think of off the top of my head. And now, obviously, Glenn Maxwell's, he's lost his love for the game. And he's one of the most talented cricketers in Australia in the last 2 or 3, 4, 5 years, has lost his love for the game and can't figure out a way to discover it and needs help. And first and foremost, it's just about his own health. Get away from the game. Forget about cricket. Sort yourself out. Find your love for yourself. I mean, we've all been on cricket tours where we've probably at times, or on the cricket field, where we've felt a bit lonely. Commentary is quite a lonely. It's quite a lonely existence at times when you're in a foreign country, traveling time and time again, day in, day out. It can be quite lonely unless you've got good people around you and good people to talk to. It can be a really, really tough existence. So the more that we get cricketers, commentators, former cricketers speak up about this subject and actually acknowledge that it is real, I think the better it will be, and the better some of these guys will recover from it. So it's real, it's out there, it's in everyday life. It's not just in cricket and sport in general. It is in everyday life. And the more we can talk about it, the more we can acknowledge it, and the more we can actually openly, God, we don't talk about things. Guys are hopeless. Girls talk about
they are, that's true.
We are hopeless when it comes to talking about our feelings and where we're at. I mean, there's the odd sensitive guy like Sean Pollock who's happy doing it. Very few of us.
Hence the term, Dooley, let the bat do the talking.
Correct. But look, I think it's a subject that's out there and needs to be talked about more often and opened up about. And guys shouldn't feel bad about talking about it, to be honest. So, I wish Glenn Maxwell all the best. I sent him a message today, personally, just to say, get your life on track. It's not about cricket. Cricket is secondary, mate. And I just hope he figures it out, and I hope he gets the help he needs.
Yeah, I guess, and it's actually interesting that as we talk about it and we kind of throw little jibes about, guys don't talk and all this, there is, in high-level sport, it's cutthroat. It really is. And the strength of your mind is important, or sometimes, players, those involved in whatever games, kind of take it to mean that you aren't allowed to not so much be fragile, but to have any doubts of any sort, and it might be seen as a sign of weakness. And so it's been discouraged in times past. But as Simon says, everything is everything in essence, in that your life, cricket's just a part of it. It's not your whole life. And that's sometimes difficult to see for a star, for a cricketer, for a sports person, whilst they're in the heat of battle in terms of their career.
Yeah, I think what you've got to discuss is that the fact that I think for some people, they look at it from a perspective of, oh, well, he's feeling sorry for himself, or, he's not mentally tough. But I think what you need to understand about depression is it's an illness. It's actually something that certain people can't control. They have absolutely no say over it. It's like, if, for example, if cancer attacks your body, for some people, mentally, the depression is just something that they may be prone to having active in their bodies, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. And I think therein lies the issue, where the understanding needs to be. There is actually sometimes nothing they can do about it, and they need support. If we've got any other illness, we go to a doctor or whatever to try and get us to help us out of it. mentally you can also have these depressive issues. And, you know, I mean, it's such a cutthroat business, playing international cricket. The expectations that you create for yourself, the expectations that the fans create, the expectations that your country creates, having to deal with those pressures on a daily basis. If you are susceptible to this illness, sure, it can't be a happy place to be.
True.
Yeah, and good of Cricket Australia and for Think Tank really to realize the problem and to work with Maxwell and to understand where he's coming from, you know, and that can only happen if you've got a good vibes, good connectivity within the camp. And I think credit has to be given to both parties, Maxwell for explaining what is happening to him, and for you know, the coaches and the team management to realize the intensity and the importance of him to just let go and relax.
Yeah, Mikey, gone are the days, aren't there, where one size fits all in terms of managing or looking after sports teams. I know cricket teams is where we'd kind of go to, but just in general, it's all shifted and has to shift, doesn't it?
Well, we're getting a better understanding from it. You know, as time has passed, people understand more about life and about different issues. As Polly said, when something like that happened to like Jonathan Trott, there had a lot of people saying, oh, he's weak, he couldn't handle the fast bowling in Australia. It is not any situation like that. It is an illness, as Polly said. I didn't understand it initially, but I have people in my family that have explained it to me, because I have people in my family who do suffer from depression at times, and they have to be on medication. It is an illness that you have to deal with. It's something within the person's body. It's not a matter of being a weak person or strong character or weak character. You have something that is, you hear people refer to people and I say they have an addictive personality. Means they get addicted to things quite easily. It is not because they are weak. It is because there's just some chemical makeup of that particular person. And it's the same thing with depression. But we have gotten to understand it a lot better now. And people are doing what you see happening now. With the coach, for instance, I read that Justin Langer himself just looked at Maxwell and thought to himself, this guy just doesn't look right. I know him better than that. He has a smile on his face, but this is just not the right man. I need to talk to him. So people are understanding it a lot better. And of course, if you understand it, there are ways of getting around it. Whatever the psychologists say, or whatever treatment that he needs, whether it's a chemical treatment or like taking drugs or just talking to people, whatever it takes, it will be tackled because people understand it better now.
Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, in terms of cricket, it's kind of moving, and I suppose in society as well, at a pace that you'd like for it to all move quicker and for everybody to be on the same page. But you'll still have those who will react out of ignorance rather than anything else to say, well, I'm not so sure and I don't know about this and that. So awareness of this is just as important. And what will bring awareness is guys like Maxwell, as Trescothick did, as Trott did, kind of opening up about this sort of thing and letting everybody know and being supported, as Maxwell is being by Cricket Australia.
And gents, I don't know if you guys are aware that Michael Atherton wrote a book a few years ago about suicides in cricket, the amount of cricketers that committed suicide. Now, that has to be because of the depression factor. I never was aware of the number of cricketers who really committed suicide until I heard about this book from Athers and I sat down and spoke to him about it. But that's years ago. Hopefully those numbers are dwindling and will get to zero, because it is something that needs to be tackled. And of course, people being more aware of it, I think we will get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a medical condition and all that, and we've spoken about it, but I think it must be very close to when we are just about ready to quit the game. You know, when we're retiring, we go through so many phases in our mind. Should I retire? Am I not good enough? Am I enjoying the game or not? You know, you go through a lot of questions in your mind. And I think this would be very much similar to what we went through when we were retiring. Nobody goes out with a happy smile, you know, when he's retired. So all these questions come.
Was a weight off my shoulders.
When you retired, Mikey, we had smiles on our faces.
True. Very true.
Yeah, I think the situation too is, as Rambo said, I know what Mikey's talking about. I think cricket, the suicide rate was like the second most high compared to maybe policemen, because it's such an all-encompassing game. I mean, you think of even the county circuit where you might have played 5 or 6 days of cricket a week. And then all of a sudden, when that gets taken away from you, how do you fill that void? And the point is valid. I think a lot of work also needs to be done. I mean, yes, to help the players while they're currently going through the pressure cooker situations and everything that they face on a daily basis. But then also coming off the treadmill, the cricketing treadmill, when you're trying to go back to normal life and your bubble gets popped just a little bit, what other avenues can you explore? What can be done from a mental perspective to help prepare you for the next phase of your life? Because it is coming down. As a national hero there for 10 or 15 years, whatever it may be, all of a sudden that gets taken away from you. Mentally, you've probably started when you're 18 and you're playing until you're 30 odd. You mentally haven't really developed to be able to deal with the situations that you face once you come off the cricketing treadmill. So I think for all sportsmen, never mind just cricket, I think a lot can be done. And I know in the last 10 years, as Marky said, a lot more research has been done. But it does, mental scarring and mental situations do definitely arise for sports.
Polly, I was thinking these days the cricketers start so young. I mean, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old gets into one of these leagues, and there's so much of pressure on this young kid who's still in that developing age, with regard to mental faculties and physical strengths. And then he's now in that circuit where he's got to win contracts of all the cricket leagues. He's got to perform in all these T20 leagues. And there's so much of pressure put on him when he's still in his teens in a way. And so maybe that could be a reason why these guys are at times exploding like this and sort of wanting to leave everything by the time they turn 25, 26, 28.
I'll tell you what, as I think about it, go on, Mikey.
That's why they need the support around them. And that is why different cricket organizations around the world need to be able to say to themselves, we have a lot more work to do than to organize tournaments and to be organizing tours. They need to take their employees, because these guys are their employees, under their wings and nurture them. Not just be happy that they can score 100 or take 5 wickets.
In thinking about this perspective, in that sport for a long time, I think was just seen as fun. And whilst it is fun, essentially what you will have is psychologists in cricket teams who are there, or in sports teams who are there to make you perform better. And they're there to look after what happens on the field, essentially. So I think there needs to be a shift from that. Whilst you must do well on the field, I think mental health as a subject, depression, stroke, X, Y, Z, all the stuff that you need to kind of pay attention to, needs to be something that's also part of sports teams, where the health off the field is important from a mental perspective, from a psychological perspective, so that you can have a healthy player on and off the field, in order that the pressures of life, because essentially for a cricketer, that is his life for some of them. You see situations like these with people who are under high pressure in high pressure jobs. And sometimes you could even go down to students when it comes to exam time and depression and, just kind of feeling like the world's closing in on them and absolutely no outlet. So there is a need to kind of holistically look at the player and ensure that health is both on and in the time of battle, but off, because the battle kind of never stops, and perspective must be given to ensure that, hey, your whole life's ahead of you. This is but a little bit of your life, and you can be so much greater and so much more because there's a whole lot out there.
I think also for the people watching, I think the understanding of just appreciating the sportsman or the cricketer for his skills. And, you know, a lot of people put the pressure on them. Well, he should be a role model. Well, you know what? If from 18 to 21, if I said to you guys out there, maybe someone watching, they've got a kid at varsity, would you like to see the way your kid's behaving behind closed doors at the varsity? You'd probably say no. So why at 21, because a guy's brilliant at sport, must there be an expectation? Yes, I think there's a bit of responsibility for him to try and be as good a role model as possible. But you're talking about the high-pressure jobs, the people who are 45, 50, those when you become an MD or a CEO and you've matured enough to be able to deal with the situations that you're facing. At 18 and 19 and 20, 21, the characters of these individuals hasn't developed enough to be able to deal with the pressures, the extra money, the adulation, the fame, everything that's thrown on their shoulders. And that's why you can understand that at times they have a wobbly. So I think just for the fans out there, appreciate these sportsmen for what they are, the abilities they have, skills-wise in the cricket field, and maybe don't be too harsh in judging them off the field.
At times, I wish that, you know, these individual cricketers were being handled like tennis players. You know, tennis players have got this net of people around them, you know. You've got a trainer and you've got a psychologist, maybe a guy who just gets you going all the time. And, you know, it's a complete support staff with them. And maybe cricketers need that, you know, to have an individual guy, a mentor to go to, you know, a physical trainer, a guy who can set your mind right just before the top tournament or a top game. Something like that, I think. That may help.
Rambo, I am in Jamaica at the moment, and I had lunch with some cricket people yesterday. And I mentioned to them something that I mentioned to the West Indies Cricket Board donkeys years ago. At least a decade or more than a decade ago, I'm absolutely sure. Every time that the West Indies Cricket Board have an under-19 tournament, that under-19 tournament is in one country, whether it's Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana, wherever. You don't have teams traveling around the Caribbean to play an under-19 tournament. So you have a captive audience. You have under-19 cricketers from every region in the Caribbean in one spot. And I suggested the cricket board years ago that because they have this captive audience and they have these youngsters that they are then looking towards to represent the West Indies later on in life, that they bring in professional people to talk to these youngsters, bring in 6 different people from 6 different walks of life, somebody from finance, some psychologists, former cricketers, just to talk to these kids at a gathering, because there must be a hall that can hold everyone, whichever island it is played. It must find somewhere that can hold everyone, and these professional people coming at different evenings and talk to these kids. Some of them, it will go through one year and come through the next, but it may help some in their future life, because you're telling them about what is expected of them later on, what is expected of them when it comes to their finances, their behavior, their cricket, everything. And that must help in some regard. It has never been done.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about a decade
so Mikey,
now. Yes,
so Mikey, when I was working for the cricket board, we had the entire plan for the academy graduates. So we, in that 5-month period, we got them to start, then they come and tell them how to park their money. There'll be an investment guy. There'll be a guy who's written books who'll talk to them just about life, how to become good citizens, how to become good models, role models, and how to be proud of what. So we did that for 2-3 seasons, and it worked really well. You know, asked them to write a diary also. You know, what coach taught them today, and whether they liked it or not. And so at the end of it, there was a certification evening where we asked all their families to come. And I was amazed at, at the spread, because they'd come from far off villages. And you just couldn't comprehend, where this game has gone and developed, and what interest the folks took, and how proud they felt when their 16-year-old was awarded a certificate. So I think this can be done, and it has worked. And it has to be done.
It's the same thing I'm suggesting to the West Indies Cricket Board, because it's West Indian cricketers are similar to what you are talking about there in Pakistan. They come from diverse backgrounds. And when they come together, they can learn from each other, yes, But at the same time, at that age, they're not looking to learn from each other, because you're not looking to learn from your peers at 15, 16, 17. Yeah. But when you have professional people coming in, people that are well known and respected around the Caribbean, when you call the name, any kid in the Caribbean will say, yeah, I've heard of that person, whether it's a lady or a gentleman. And most of them, as I said before, some of them it won't matter to them. But most of them will sit down and listen, and they will learn something from what is being said to them.
Yeah.
But as I
said, at least put in a system.
1.5 now, nothing.
Yeah, well, hopefully they can change that and kind of move in the right direction. Just generally, I think that everywhere around the world kind of needs to do that, make cricket more of a holistic game. Well, gents, not a whole lot we can say. We can continue to chat, but all that's left to say is that we wish Glenn Maxwell really well, and we hope that he'll be back soon enough and he gets all the help that he requires. And anybody else who's out there and needs the help, there is help out there.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Reach out to somebody, and I'm sure you can get the help. So for now, gents, cheers. Always nice chatting, and all of you out there, catch you next time.
Cheers.